I was carrying a tray of sausages past the kitchen window when I heard my daughter-in-law explain to her friend exactly what I was. The friend had asked whether they paid me. It was a kind question. She was thinking of asking her own mother. And Fiona laughed and said, "God, no, Joan's the free option. She'd only be sat at home otherwise." I stood on that patio holding a tray of sausages for about 9 seconds. Then I took them out to the barbecue because they were going cold and my grandson was hungry. My name is Joan Pike. I am 64, and that was the last summer I did it for nothing. It started the ordinary way these things start. My son Craig and his wife Fiona had Ellis in 2018, and Maisie 2 years after that, and Fiona went back to work when Ellis was 11 months old because she is very good at her job and she was not going to stop. I want to say clearly, before I say anything else, I think that was the right decision. I have never once thought otherwise. Fiona works in procurement for a hospital trust and she is sharp and she is respected and she earns more than Craig, and none of that is a character flaw. The child care, though, had to come from somewhere, so I said I'd help, just Mondays at first, just while they got sorted. By 2020, it was 4 days a week. Here's what 4 days a week actually was, because I have found that people here helps with the grandchildren and picture a woman on a sofa with a picture book. 6:45 out of my house. 7:15 at theirs because Fiona leaves at 6:30. Breakfast for 2 children, one of whom would not eat anything that had touched anything else. School run. Nursery run, which is in the opposite direction. Then home to theirs, where I did the washing. Because it was there, and the machine was right in front of me, and I am not built to sit in a house next to a full basket. Nursery pickup at 12. Lunch. Maisie's nap, during which I did the ironing, and, twice a week, the online shop. School pickup at 3:15. Reading records, both of them, every night, signed. Tea, baths some nights, packed lunches made and in the fridge for the morning, Fiona home at 6:30. I'd drive back and get in about 7. Sick days were mine. Every single one for 7 years. Inset days were mine. Half terms, mostly mine. When Ellis had chickenpox in 2022, I had him for 9 consecutive days and I caught it off him at 59 years old, which is not something I recommend. Dentist appointments were mine. I knew both children's shoe sizes and Fiona did not, and that is not a criticism. It is just arithmetic. I was the one in the shop. Nobody was ever cruel to me. I want to be precise about that because cruel would be easier to explain and it would not be true. What there was instead was a sort of steady, cheerful correction. The food was wrong. Too much white bread. She sent me an article about ultra-processed food once, with 3 laughing emojis, which I have thought about a great deal. The screen time was wrong. I had let them watch television while I did the tea, which I did because I have 2 hands. The way I did the reading records was wrong. I wrote too much in the comments box, and it made it look like the school was being pushy. And every so often when I got something right, there would be a thank you. A big one. A bunch of petrol station flowers and, "Honestly, Joan, we could not do it without you," and I would go home glowing like a fool. I have worked out since that the 2 things were connected. You do not need to pay someone who is that easy to make glow. The barbecue was the 6th of July. Fiona's friend was called Rebecca. New baby, going back to work in September, working out the sums out loud the way you do. And she said, "Can I ask, do you pay Joan?" Only Mum's offered and I don't know what's normal. I was 4 feet away on the other side of an open window with a tray of sausages. Fiona said, "God, no, Joan's the free option. She'd only be sat at home otherwise." And Rebecca, to her credit, said right in a voice that had a small dent in it. I took the sausages out. I turned them. Ellis wanted to know if there were any without bits. I want to tell you that I felt rage. I did not particularly. What I felt was a sort of cold clarity, like when you finally get your glasses prescription updated and realize how long you have been squinting. She'd only be sat at home otherwise. 7 years. 9 days of chickenpox, 1,200 packed lunches. And the whole time in her head, I had not been doing something. I had been avoiding nothing. I did not say anything that day. I did not say anything for 9 days. Then on the 15th of July, I sent Craig and Fiona a message. I typed it out about 6 times, and this is what I sent. "Hello both. I wanted to let you know in good time. I won't be able to do the childcare from the start of September. I'm very sorry for the notice, but I wanted to give you the whole summer to sort something. Love, Mum X." That is all it said. No reason, no accusation. I want to be honest that this was not strategy. I simply could not think of a way to write. I heard what you said that did not make me feel like a child. Craig rang within 4 minutes. Was I ill? Was it my hip? Had something happened? I said, no, love, nothing's happened. I've just decided. He said, but, decided what? Decided to do what instead? And there it was, in the first 4 minutes. Not, are you all right? Instead, I said I had things I wanted to do, and he said, like what? And I said, Craig, and he went quiet. Fiona did not ring for 2 days. When she did, she was warm and businesslike, and she said she completely understood. And did I have a sense of whether this was permanent, because it would help with planning? I said it was permanent. I know exactly what happened next, because Craig told me later, in a kitchen, at 11 at night, with his head in his hands. Wraparound care for Ellis, breakfast club and after-school club, 5 days, was £210 a month. That bit was fine. Maisie was the problem. Full-time nursery in our area is $1,140 a month, and the good one had a waiting list into January. The one with space was a 40-minute detour in the wrong direction, which meant Fiona leaving at 7:10, which meant Craig doing the drop-off, which meant Craig starting late 4 days a week. Then the school holidays. Holiday club is £38 a day per child, and there are 13 weeks of them. They costed it at just under £1,900 a month. Fiona had been up for a promotion in the autumn. It needed her at the Trust's other site 2 days a week, an hour each way. That is not a thing you can do while doing a 40-minute nursery detour at both ends of the day. She withdrew from the process in October. Craig told me that part in the kitchen, and I said I was sorry, and I meant it. And he looked at me and said, do you know what she said when she withdrew? She said, I didn't realize how much Mum was actually doing. And I said, no, she didn't. There was one other thing, and it is the part that still catches me. On the 31st of August, I typed up a handover. 4 pages. I did it because I am not a spiteful woman, and because 2 small children were about to have their whole week rearranged by adults who did not know what they did not know. Ellis's shoe size, and that he goes up half a size every March. Maisie's allergy, mild, but the school needs the form annually, and it is due in October. The dentist is Mr. Adeyemi, and they are both due in November. The reading books change on Tuesdays and Fridays. Ellis must not be sat next to a boy called Rowan, the school knows, but supply teachers do not. Maisie will not sleep without the gray rabbit, and there is a spare gray rabbit in my airing cupboard, second shelf for emergencies. Craig read it in the kitchen that night, and got to the second gray rabbit, and put the pages down on the counter, and could not speak for a bit. Because that is the thing about invisible work. It is not invisible because it is small. It is invisible because somebody competent is doing it, and competence is silent. Here is the part I did not plan, and would not have dared to plan. Rebecca, the friend from the barbecue, lives 3 doors down from me. That was how she knew Fiona in the first place. She knocked on my door on the 2nd of August. She stood on my step, and she went red, and she said she had been thinking about that conversation ever since. And she was sorry she had heard it, and she wanted to ask me something, and I could absolutely say no. She has a little boy called Teddy. She wanted to know if I would consider having him 3 days a week, properly, registered, insured, paid, £1 an hour. I said I would think about it, and then I said yes about 40 seconds later, because I am not made of stone. I did the course in August. I am registered now. Teddy is 19 months old, and he thinks the bin lorry is the best thing that has ever happened to this street. Fiona found out in the 3rd week of September. She was dropping Ellis at mine for an hour. We still see each other. I am still their grandmother. That never stopped, and I never wanted it to. And she pulled up as I was coming back from the post box, pushing a buggy that was not hers. She looked at the buggy. She looked at me. And she said, "Is that Rebecca's?" I said yes. She said, "Are you being paid?" I said yes. There was a silence on that pavement I will remember for the rest of my life. And then she said, "Right," in exactly the voice Rebecca had used on the 6th of July, with the same small dent in it, and she got back in the car. Craig knows what I heard. I told him in November, when he asked me for the 4th time why I really stopped, and I decided he was old enough. He cried, which I had not expected and did not enjoy. He said, "Why didn't you just tell us?" And I said, Because you'd have paid me to make it go away, and I didn't want the money. I wanted you to know what it was worth. Fiona and I have never discussed it. Not once. She is unfailingly polite to me now, and there is a carefulness in it that was never there before, and I do not think that is entirely a bad thing. They pay a childminder now, a very good one called Delia. Fiona goes for the promotion again in the spring, and I hope she gets it, and I say that without a single crossed finger behind my back. I have the grandchildren every other Saturday. It is the best day of my fortnight. I am nobody's staff on a Saturday, and I earn £420 a week minding Teddy, which at 64 is the most money I have ever earned in my life. I have been to Lisbon. I am going again in March. I have thought a lot about what I would want to say to you if you are the one doing it. I do not think the lesson is stop helping. I loved those 7 years. I would not give them back, not one chickenpox day of them. The lesson is smaller and harder than that. There is a difference between being needed and being counted on, and the difference is whether anybody has ever had to work out what you cost. If nobody has ever done the arithmetic, it is not because you are priceless. It is because you are free. You do not have to make a scene about it. I never did. I never said one angry word to that woman, and I never will. You just have to stop being free once and let them get the calculator out. They will find the number, and then they will know. If you have been somebody's free option, I would very much like to hear about it. Tell me in the comments.